I did the right thing where I picked a skill that I enjoyed, and it made it way easier for me to work longer hours. Don't work for somebody else, start your own business, go into business for yourself. That's where all the money is. And I just kept writing and writing. Throughout the years of school, I just didn't really like it because I was writing about stuff I didn't want to write about, and you have to have a minimum of 2,000 words, all that BS. Think about it, if you're starting out, nobody cares who you are. They only care what's in it for them. I think growing an audience, a personal brand, is one of the most powerful things you can do because...
Hey guys, this is an episode of the One Network podcast. I got Dakota Robertson here. Very interesting guy. Excited to speak to him. He is a professional ghostwriter, an online entrepreneur, and a social media expert, to say. He posts a lot of interesting stuff on different platforms, and I think has a pretty cool business too that I want to talk about. Dakota, for our audience, is mostly like early stage entrepreneurs, people who are trying to find a business model, that type of audience. For them, can you give like a quick 36 to 60 second intro on how you got started as an entrepreneur in the first place?
Yeah, so I was on Twitter because of crypto, and I would stay up to date with the news. That was in 2018,
Okay.
and then came across a course showing how to grow your following on Twitter. Thought that was, hey, that's interesting. Gave it a go. Started interacting with people within the quote-unquote money Twitter scene.
Nice.
Got introduced to different players, and then kind of got indoctrinated into the make money online cult, and started studying copywriting, writing, social media, all that stuff. Eventually started growing my own social media. It's like, hey, I can do this for other people. So I started offering that as a service as a social media ghostwriter, scaled that up, and then I started coaching people on how to start their ghostwriting business after a couple of years of ghostwriting.
Cool. So you mentioned being in kind of the money Twitter space and crypto, and that's sort of like stoking your interest in like online entrepreneurship. Before that, did you ever think about running your own company, being self-employed? Was that like something that was in the cards for you when you were younger or whatnot?
Yes, it's funny. My mom, growing up when I was probably 8 years old, she told me, Dakota, don't work for somebody else, start your own business, and you go into business for yourself, because that's where all the money is. Yeah,
Okay.
and I didn't appreciate it during the time she told me that, because
That's
I was an
huge.
8-year-old kid. But it wasn't until later on, I was like, oh shit, she kind of indoctrinated me into entrepreneurship and brainwashed me, which I'm very grateful for.
Wow.
But at the age of 18, that's when I really started taking it seriously. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I got
Great
into
book.
all the basic self-help books.
Self-help books.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to try all these different businesses. I was, tried Amazon FBA. I tried web design, blogging, flipping iPhones and repairing them on Facebook Marketplace, flipping mugs on eBay like Gary Vee, all these different things, and they never panned out until I actually went all in with writing.
Nice. Were you a writer before that? Like, had you done writing as a hobby, or did you have a natural sort of skill set for? Because I've read some of your works, and you sound like you were like ace in those like creative writing classes in school. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, that was like young, like grade 1, I would write, and I never wanted to leave. Even when the recess bell went off, I had a writing assignment. I just
Sure.
kept writing and writing. But throughout the years of school, I just didn't really like it because I was writing about stuff I didn't want to write about, and you have to have a minimum of 2,000 words, all that BS. But it was one of my strongest skills throughout school. It's where I got the highest grades typically. And yeah, it just wasn't until I started writing about things I actually cared about and what I liked that I started to really progress and see it as a viable option as a career. Before that, it's like, I don't want to do that.
Cool. So when did you start taking on clients or selling it as a service?
So November of 2021 was when I got my first 3 clients for ghostwriting. And
Okay.
yeah, it was really quick. I launched my website, and by that point, I think I had between 5 to 10,000 followers. I launched a website, and I just kept creating content. I didn't promote anything, but I had a link in my bio that led to my website. And I guess just from creating content that people saw the link in my bio, they clicked it, applied to work with me, hopped on some sales calls. I took the sales calls in Starbucks cafes. So stupid
I've
with
done that
my
before.
Yeti microphone. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's like
I didn't know what I
you
was
get the
doing.
music in the background.
Yeah, so unprofessional, but I didn't care. But yeah, people took a chance on me, and it worked out well.
Cool. How did you procure clients? Was it all through social media? Were you doing any like cold
Yeah,
outreach? What was the
so
main channels?
all inbound, I'd say like 99% of it was inbound leads just from social media. And that's why social media is so powerful, because
Okay.
not only are you proving your competence on the timeline and nurturing people, but you're creating an asset that compounds and exponentially as you, the more you grow, right? And you're getting more reach. So it's also a mechanism for warming up leads, but it's also one for capturing people into your ultimate funnel there. But yeah, I did some outreach. Probably sent like 10 messages total, and I didn't
Nice.
really care for it. But yeah, it was primarily all inbound.
In terms of like the social media, like business content, do you have like a creative process where you're looking to, other creators for inspiration, or what's your creative process for like coming up with post ideas?
Yeah, so I used to look at other people's posts and kind of reword it. That was when I was beginning, because you don't have much experience. You're trying to think, okay, how can I make this my own? You reword stuff, and then eventually, as I gained more experience, I moved away from writing platitudes and fluffy content and more started talking about my own experience. And now I will still look at other people's content, but I'll either look at the way they structure the post and then put my own ideas and experience into it, or I'll look at the main idea of what they're talking about. And I'm like, okay, how can I talk about my experience with this idea?
Got
So
it.
it's either a mix and match, but never the two in one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. At some point in the kind of journey or the just progression of what you're doing, do you think about niching down?
Yes, the way I think about it, so people, there's this common thing on the internet, the niche is you. Oh, the niche is you, just talk about everything that you're interested in. I don't think that's a good strategy at the start. I think
Okay.
it screws up a lot of beginner creators, because think about it, if you're starting out, nobody cares who you are. They only care what's in it for them. So if you're talking about this, that, and whatever else, you're not really building your authority on one thing. So I like to think, okay, what's the
Interesting.
one thing you have interest in and that there's market demand for? And then start talking about that and showing people how to achieve a desired outcome or solve pain points. And when you do that, you are useful. And when you are useful, you're going to be followed. You're going to get more potential clients hitting you up to work with you. And you're just showing your overall expertise. So I think at the start, niche down. And then as you grow bigger and bigger, that's when you can broaden your quote unquote niche and become the niche.
When you're starting the company and just like your business career off, like what are the biggest challenges or the things that were tough to figure out that you had to kind of solve on your own?
One thing was learning when to say no. So at
Okay.
the start, you just want to take on anyone that will pay you money.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned, if you take on everybody, there's going to be people you can't really serve or get the best results for.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned I don't want to work with SEO people. I don't want to work with people in e-com because it's harder for me to get them results. I got really good results for people in the productivity space, the coaching space, general business. And I learned, okay, I don't want to take people's money if I can't really provide value to them, because one, it just doesn't feel good. Two,
Yeah.
it screws up my reputation, and the client's not happy, right? So
Sure.
it's just a pain in the ass to take on people when you can't serve them. So I quickly learned, okay, you got to learn to say no to people, but not even just when it comes to clients, also with opportunities. Because the more you say yes, the more you are dedicating your time, energy, and focus into all these different buckets, and then you're not going to do any of them well. So I've had to relentlessly say no to opportunities so I could focus on the one thing that's going to move the needle
Yeah.
for myself and my business. And it's been hard because you're conditioned, oh, I need to take on more opportunities and keep saying yes to get more money, but it's actually the opposite once you reach a certain point. So it's just having the discipline to say no.
And yeah, it's probably tough when you have like a lot of demand, I guess. Do you know what I'm saying? Just people coming in and like offering to throw money at you or
Yeah.
whatnot, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
So like, how do you think about like sort of scaling or building out a team? Like, at what point do you bring in other people to aid in the operation and expand it beyond yourself?
Yeah, so I don't want to build a huge team. I have no desire to manage,
Right.
dozens to hundreds of people. So I've always
Stayed
kept
away
it
from that.
lean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the I've been fortunate because when you build a big audience, you have way more leverage, right? And I could spin up a course or I could charge a higher ticket and I'm just going to get more demand typically. So I've been fortunate in that aspect, but I look at the areas that drain my energy that I don't really care for. And although I know I can do it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make more money and enjoy life more if I just delegate this. So, I mean, my main hire has been a really solid VA to handle, the menial tasks.
Yeah.
I had a CSM, a client success manager in my coaching program,
Okay.
to handle like DMs and all that stuff, to help people more one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then those are my main two hires, and then video editor and stuff. But it's all been contractors, so it's technically I'm a one-person business. But yeah, it's been pretty lean.
Yeah, it's funny. I've a lot of the people I talk to always mention the VA being like the most critical.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying?
the unsung heroes.
The unsung heroes. Um, so cool. So, in terms of sales, is there any kind of like, do you have a philosophy as far as like selling clients, or do you kind of let the work speak for itself?
Like to make more sales?
Yeah. Or just in terms of
Yes.
closing, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like the actual sales call?
The actual sales call and the sales process.
Yeah, so I'm pretty basic. I don't do two call closes. I pretty much do one call close. So get them on a call right away. You just do a quick introduction. I don't waste time, going back and forth. And then from there, I just frame them. Okay, here's what we're going to go over on the call. Sound good? They're like, yeah, okay. Go into discovery where I'm asking questions, getting a good idea. What's their pain points? Where do they want to go? Can I even help them? And then if it seems like it's a good fit, that's when I move them on to the transition to the pitch. And then I pitch them on my process. So 1, 2, 3, really simple. At each step in the process when I'm explaining it, do you understand before I move on to the next step? And then I just lay the price out on them at the end. And then if it's a good fit, handle objections if any come up. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I like keeping everything super simple.
Nice. So in terms of like coming up with pricing, I think I have a lot of guys in my community who are like either doing some type of social media service, copywriting, do you know what I'm saying? Some type of marketing service where they're reaching out to people based on what they find in their like social media or business profile, etc. How do you think about like pricing a service like that in kind of the early days before you've sort of built up a lot of case studies?
Yeah, so I think at the start, work for free or cheap, to be honest, because you don't have much skill probably at the start, and you need to get some kind of social proof, some kind of experience under your belt before you can start charging more money. What I did, I worked for free for Dan Coe I ghost wrote for him for
Oh,
a
nice.
few
Okay.
weeks. Got him good results, which build my confidence as well. Like that's a thing that's not talked about much. Like doing free work takes off so much pressure because you're not having someone paying you thousands of dollars and they're
don't have
expecting this amazing thing.
The heat on you.
So
Yeah, I get it.
yeah, exactly. So it's a great way to learn and then get a case study, get a testimonial in exchange, and then you leverage that to get paying clients. So then I would probably, like for me, I did that thing for Dan, got a video testimonial of all the results, and then I got my first client for $3K a month. I think that's pretty damn high for your first ghostwriting client. It helped that I was one of the first ghostwriters out there, so there's way more demand than supply. I was also positioned in a way, where I already grew my social media, so I had higher authority, which made it easier to get leads, but also close them. So it's a life hack in of itself. And then, so I think as you land a client, raise your prices by maybe 10 to 25%, and then just keep doing that, because you're going to get people, if you get a bunch of people saying, no, that's too high, then it might be a good piece of feedback to say, hey, you either need to change your offer to make it more valuable, or you need to lower your prices. But I just followed the frameworks from Alex Hormozy's book, $100 million offers, from the get-go, and that allowed me to charge.
Good pricing advice there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. So that really helped me charge higher prices at the start.
Nice. Another question. So obviously, entrepreneur, it's a grinding kind of lifestyle, no matter what stage of the journey you're at. What does your kind of balance look like with your personal life, or what, how much kind of work are you putting into your business?
Yeah, I mean, my whole life is work, because I love this. I mean, there's parts I obviously don't love, but I think I did the right thing where I picked a skill that I enjoyed and actively wanted to learn more about, and it made way easier for me to work longer hours. I think a lot of people are in it for the wrong reasons, like, oh, they just want to make money, and I 100% think that's okay, but I think you need to find something that's aligned with your interests and makes you money. And then that way it's going to feel more like a game to you. Like, I feel like I'm playing a video game a lot of the times, because I'm leveling up my skills, gaining more experience, using that experience to get more loot, use that loot to buy better gear, level up, and then
the
take
video game analogy.
I love it. Yeah, it's fun. So I think picking something that's aligned with your interests is key. But yeah, I realistically probably 5 hours of focused solid work, and then 3 hours, 4 hours of not so focused work, where it's like, okay, I'll do a little bit of work here or there. But honestly, I think if you learn to focus efficiently and cut out distractions, you can get a hell of a lot done in a few hours.
Cool. Yeah, no, I agree with that totally. It's always like an interesting question, because it's like you have to enjoy what you do to be able to do it, but then a lot of people don't know what they're doing in the first place. So it's like, do you put the cart before the horse, or like, how does it kind of?
Yeah, and people don't give it enough time, because at the start you're gonna suck at the start, and you got these gurus saying, "Oh, you're gonna make 10K next week," and they join the program
this week.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, why am I not a millionaire in 1 month?" Right? And then they give up, and then start the next shiny object. But I think realistically, the first 6 months, it's going to be a grind. You have to prioritize building your business and learning skills over partying and eating chicken nuggets and watching Netflix. Yeah, exactly. And it just comes down to, okay, how bad do you want it? Yeah. Really. It's okay if you don't want it. You want to work a job, and that's nothing wrong with that. But
exactly,
you're going to have to prioritize it. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question that you bring up. You're talking about before how, like, the way that you got exposed to, like, the online business landscape was through Twitter, crypto, whatever. How do you avoid that shiny object syndrome when you're constantly, like, consuming new content? And like new business models and the 10K next week type deal. Yeah.
For me, it was hiring my first mentor, and I don't recommend this for everybody, but up until that point, I was taking all the courses, watching all the YouTube videos, reading all the books. Sure. I'm reading books. I'm progressing.
Read 10 books a day.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't until I actually put 6K down on a coaching program that I started to take this seriously, because I only had 8K in the bank account. I was like, oh shit. Like, if I don't actually start doing stuff, then I'm going to be broke, and I don't want to be homeless. So I actually got my ass in gear and started taking action. So for me, putting down money and feeling the pain of giving up that money was a huge motivator
100%.
for me. So that's what's worked for me. I don't recommend going out and paying some random guru thousands of dollars, but finding ways to make yourself more invested. I don't, like, there's different ways you can do that, but for me it was doing that. And
Agreed.
yeah, just finding a really quality source
Yeah.
of information and saying, okay, I'm not going to go buy another course. I'm not going to pay for another mentor. This is what I'm doing. I'm following this to a T and doing
Focus.
exactly everything exactly. And then just being consistent with it day in and day out. And I'd be shocked if you did something consistently for 6 to 12 months and you didn't see at least a little bit of results. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I think it's like you want to put if I look back on like what helped me get my first business off the ground, it's that financial pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like that gets you past the plateau faster than anything because now that you feel the pain, now you're going for it.
Tactical anxiety.
Tactical anxiety, but with the mentors themselves, was there any like, I mean, how did you vet a mentor?
Yeah, it was because I was in the Twitter space.
So you already kinda knew.
Yeah, I kind of knew a lot of the people, and then hearing referrals from friends, or like I would ask a friend in this business space, hey, do you know anyone that's does XYZ? So it was mainly through people I knew, and I kind of stuck with that. I don't think I've hired any random gurus from ads. Yeah, it was always like I would consume their content and I would get a feel for who this person was. Do they have good character? Do they have social proof?
Yeah.
All that stuff, and then I would pull the trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting tidbit. Anything else that you've kind of learned in these last couple of 3-4 years that you think is highly valuable to the entrepreneur who is,
I think,
you know what I'm saying?
I think growing an audience, a personal brand is one of the most powerful things you can do because you don't have to be an expert to post content. Just document the process, what you're learning, wins, failures. But also by posting on social media, you're going to be solidifying the knowledge that you're learning. So let's say I read a book on copywriting. Exactly. You implement it and then you document what you learned, what you are learning, and that's going to grow your audience, but it's also going to attract clients and it's going to build your authority and it's going to make it easier to land deals. Sure. At the start, I was absolutely shit at sales calls. I would shake before sales calls. I was so nervous, didn't know what the hell. And I was still closing deals because of the personal brand I built. They were already perceiving me in a higher light because I was posting content. People already grew to know, like, and trust me. So it's honestly a cheat code. And I think in the world where AI is going to take over and really just shock the world with what it's going to do over the next few years, I think building a personal brand is going to help you build a moat because people are going to be like, oh yeah, I know Dakota or I know Joe or Chris or Bob and I know, like, and trust them and I want to work with them. It's like the new form of advertising. First it was print and then it was radio and then TVs and then whatever. And now it's social media. So I think it's a life hack.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like my first, or not my first business, but my like third business, I did it. I didn't do any social media for it, and we got it to like a few million a year or whatever revenue. But like looking back at it, like I can just see like how much more value I could have created if I, you know what I'm saying, had thought about that audience. I think a lot of people are forgetting like afraid to sell, also like afraid to post. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they think their ideas are bad or they're reductive. Is there some, like, did you ever feel any angst around like posting or coming up with ideas, or how did you get in the swing where you're just like shooting out shit all the time?
100%. I mean, it really comes down to a choice where you tell yourself, if I don't post every single day, my head explodes. Just adopting that mindset.
Yeah.
I've literally not missed a day of posting on social media since I started. It's been 4 years now. So just adopting that mentality, even if it's shit, just accept it. Okay, I'm going to post no matter what. There's been days where I've only posted the word yes, and it's just random. But it was a mindset thing because I was dedicated to not missing a day of posting. And when you break that streak, it's so easy. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it next week. And then next thing you know, you haven't posted in 1 month. Yeah. So I think it's very important just accepting it. Hey, all these posts aren't going to be that good at the beginning, but I'm going to get better over time. I'm going to analyze what's working, what's not, double down what's working. But really, I think when you're documenting your process and what's going well for you, what's not, then I think it becomes a lot easier because you're not trying to be an expert. You're just documenting your experience. A lot of people screw up because they're trying to come across as this big guru, this expert. and they feel this imposter syndrome inside. But when you're documenting the process, then that a lot of that goes away because you're just sharing your experience.
Do you feel like though, like I see a lot of guys documenting the process, and it's like they're very like transparent on it. So it's like, yo, I made $500 this month, and that's like, you know what I'm saying, and that's like the content, or like $500 MRR or something. Like, do you feel like you can take that a little too far? Yeah, like you got to have something, right? Like we just don't want to see like a shitty process. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's ways you can frame it. Like, yeah, I landed a client. This is how I did it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I mean, you're not saying it's a 3-figure client, but
we got the 3 figs.
Yeah, depends where you're at. I mean, if you're like a 17-year-old kid or something like that, or you're say you're in the first few months of business and you're sharing that, I think that's cool because the people that are further along would be like, oh shit, I remember when I landed my first deal. That's awesome. This person's sharing it along the way. And then you could look back a few years from now and say, oh damn, look how far I've come. And you can reference that too to show people proof, which would be cool. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because like one of the big issues I have is I have people in my community that are like way far along, dude. They have like, like 20 employees, whatever. And then I have like the really starter stage people. And it's like getting the starter stage people to be able to like relate to those more later stage people who were in a similar position like however many years ago. You know what I'm saying is kind of a challenge. But in any case, last couple questions here. I got the Discord hitting me up with some stuff. Any enemies in the online space?
Enemies. I wouldn't say enemies. I mean, there's people that don't like me because my personality, for one. I also talk about how you can pay big accounts to retweet or engage on your stuff, which people just think is blasphemous. It was no different than buying an ad. So there's people that hate me. Exactly. It's like, I don't know. People got an issue with me for some reason. I'm the nicest guy. I'm Canadian for hell's sake, but
well, yeah, exactly. You're BC, right?
Yeah, BC boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But I mean, specifically, I'm not going to call anyone out, but they got a problem with me and I don't got a problem with them, but I just think it's funny.
Do you ever have people like call you out? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like other creators?
I've never had
that type of...
I had one social justice warrior woman call me out because I made a list of creators that I was saying, hey, I love these accounts, and they're all like 99% men, and she was trying to call me out. I was like, whatever. Yeah, just like, fuck off. But no, and that, I mean, I got the randos commenting saying I come from rich parents or whatever bullshit they make up. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. So that's about it, but nothing really bad.
Cool.
Yet.
Cool. Nice. Dakota, last question here. If I'm in BC, what kind of tat studios can I go to? I see that we have some good tat artistry over there.
I actually went to Montreal.
For that. I see a little French situation there.
Yeah, I didn't find any good artists in Kelowna or in BC that I was like, oh hell yeah. But this one artist in Montreal, Noah Bissy, amazing artist. Like his portraits are unreal. Like this doesn't do it justice. Like, I don't got the good lighting, but he is straight autistic with how he tattoos. I love it.
That's what you want, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he's so meticulous and he's a great dude. So I would highly recommend him.
Cool.
I flew to Montreal just for him. So
wow.
Yeah.
Shout out. Nice. Dakota, where's the best platform? What if people, I mean, presumably you work with creators, right, and businesses for the ghostwriting. Who's the best? Who can reach out?
Yeah, so my YouTube's the best place to probably consume free content, or my newsletter. Dakota Robertson, if you look up on there. But yeah, I pretty much help coaches, creators, business owners scale their social media and get more clients with it. And then Twitter is my favorite platform. So at Wrongs to Right on Twitter.
Great
Dakota
handle.
Robertson. Yes, thank you.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Dakota, man, thanks for coming on.
Cool beans. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Sweet.
This the part with the bite, nigga. What's up? I know my picture on the wall.